mess up, it don't matter. Yeah.
All right. Another video. Today's video will be on the Outback Bowl and what Penn State did wrong and things we can take from it going into the 2022 season. So I'm gonna start off with our first segment, and that will be on Sean Clifford. Did he struggle or impress? And I'm gonna go first and say what I have to say. He threw for 195 yards, one touchdown, and two interceptions, along with 43 rush yards. And that's pretty good for him, as slow that he struggled running the ball this year with mobility. But half of the mobility stats came from his sacks, which negative his yards running. So I'm going to have to say he impressed me. Honestly, like on the big fourth down plays, I know they lost 10-24, but on big fourth down plays, he gave Nittany Nation hope going into it because he broke out of sacks. He impressed me. Only 195 yards, low completion percentage, but without Jahan Dotson as the number one receiver, he did pretty good for me. And I would have to say that he impressed me on a standpoint. So let's see what my brother has to say about Sean Clifford.
All right, so Sean Clifford, he impressed me on some parts, but he did not impress me at all on some parts. So you're in college. I think he's got to be more disciplined with throwing the ball around the red zone. I know, one interception there. I know he threw two interceptions all day, but you have to be a little bit more disciplined and throw the ball away instead of just throwing up for a two-man coverage. And like I know one play I saw, his rushing really impressed me because he got away from the pocket and he broke some tackles and got to the first down. So he impressed me on some parts he didn't. So
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. Now we're going to go into segment 2, which is the run game improvement. And I think they had improvement as of Wise because, as I know it right now, Sean Clifford, he did lead the team. But as you look at it, Kayvon Lee had 35 yards, but he only had 4 touches, which means every time he ran the ball, he averaged 8.8 yards. If he can bring that in next year and get 10 rushes, we'd be at 88, 90 yards. And just with 5, that's just 5 rushes. That's 10 rushes right there. So just give him more yards. And then I feel like he can make a big impact for 2022. And then Noah Cain also. He had 5.6 per average with 28 yards, and he had one more touch than Kayvon Lee. Kayvon Lee's been the guy this year, but Sean Clifford stepped it up on a note that I didn't think he could do, and his mobility was 100% today. He had just mobility and just as fast as K.J. Jefferson was, and he's one of my favorite quarterbacks going into the 2022 season, without a doubt. All right, so we're going to see what my brother thinks about the run game and what happened. I know he doesn't know much about Penn State, and so he might not know much about this running game and our running backs. So this is what he has to say.
I really don't think the run game was super efficient because running the ball efficiently means that you have to run the ball on. You can run the ball on 3rd and 4 and get it. But I also did just come off of watching the SEC championship game where Brian Robinson broke a lot of records and got 204 yards. So the expectations were a little high, but I think it wasn't terrible, but I just think it could have been a little bit better. And I also have like a lot of things that I could say why they didn't win today. There's a bunch of reasons. And I think one of them was the offensive line. If they would have helped out a little bit, I think the running game would have been a little bit more efficient. So
Yeah. Well, just a little thing on note, the offensive line. We did lose Rasheed Walker, but we did have some freshmen come in, and I forgot his name because it was some weird name that I forgot. But he definitely improved, and he's a guy that we can look forward to in 2022. I'll be doing a video just about him. Honestly, if you know me, I'm a big guy between Penn State's offensive line because honestly, we're a national champion. We're a playoff team, and not a national championship team. We're not as good as Alabama, but if we had the offensive line, we could be a really good team. It's not the running back's fault. Like Kayvon Lee, he's done good, but also we just been a passing team on here. Like we throw the ball a whole lot. As you saw today, we threw it like 40 times and ran the ball 9 total times. So, like as you know, we don't run the ball much. We're a passing team. We have a really, really good quarterback who makes some mistakes throwing the ball, but he's a guy that can get it done. And we have receivers all around him coming in. Mitchell Tinsley, receiver in the transfer portal, will be amazing. And we'll be talking about that later. Now let's get into the next segment, which is how does wide receiver room look like? And I'm going to say that I'm literally absolutely loving this wide receiver room. I mean, Parker Washington, number one, Keandre Lambert-Smith number two, and then in 2022 we'll have Mitchell Tinsley, Parker Washington, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Malik Mega, and Kason Sanders, the freshman. I mean, Mitchell Tinsley is going to be the guy to get it done. He'll be the number one receiver. But as you see what he did in 2021, he put the stats through the roof. I mean, I literally going to love this guy, and I love the receiver room Penn State's having in 2022, and I cannot wait for the season opener at Purdue. So let's see what my brother has to say about the receiver room.
I'm gonna be honest. I was pretty impressed with the wide receivers. Parker Washington. I was not really expecting much from the receiving end of the game, but Parker Washington, he actually stepped up in front of Jahan Dotson, and all the other receivers, they also did really well. Like, I was pretty impressed by them. So yeah, I don't really know much about like all the Penn State receivers, but they all stepped up. What the who was this? Who was the second one?
Keandre Lambert-Smith.
Yeah, he was the second one. He was also he didn't have like 86 yards or something.
Yeah, he caught the 42-yard touchdown.
Hmm. And Parker Washington, then he also had a few deep balls, right?
Well, yeah, he had some, and he had that one-hand catch. That
Yeah.
was the main play around him.
Yeah, and what was the third guy? What did he get?
Don't know. I really didn't go much.
Yeah.
It was
I know that those two guys, that was big time.
Cam Sullivan Brown. He didn't have the reason they didn't have much. They were on the field. Is the thing between that as you see Sean Clifford only completed 14 passes, and as you saw, they had 7 receptions and then 3 receptions. So it was like it was split between Malik Mega and Cam Sullivan Brown. And I would have liked to see Liam Clifford out there, Sean Clifford's brother. That would have been really cool to see them just play one game because Liam Clifford's not going to get much playing time at Penn State. As you see, who's in front of him. So let's get into the very last segment, and that was the defense. I was really, really happy with this defense. We had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. The thing, I mean, like, I was excited with the pass defense. The rush defense has to get better, a lot better. We got to get better tacklers in the secondary, but we did lose a corner, a safety, 2 linebackers. So honestly, we could have done better if we had them back. And then the 3 of the sacks came from this guy that I've never heard of is Smith Vilbert. Smith Vilbert had played none all year long. He had 3 sacks today in the game. 3 sacks. And if you saw the whole game, you saw how hard it was for the linebackers and safeties to tackle KJ Jefferson. But Smith Vilbert, he did it with ease. He tackled him, chopping him up. That was the guy that kept being back there every single time. And another guy to know is Nick Harbeston. He had 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss, and he really impressed me. And the guy that I like most, the guy that I did drop a highlight video on, and that is Jair Brown. Oh my gosh, bro. He is such a playmaker. When he intercepts it, he does literally everything. You saw what he did in the first interception, changes the whole game at the beginning, and then the interception right before halftime, which made the game closer. So now let's see what my brother thinks about this defense. And here you go.
Yeah, 24 points, 24-10. 24 points, if you think about it, is not really that many points to let up. But I think the offense has definitely got to get a little bit better coming into this next game. I know they were missing Jahan Dotson. But, yeah, just like Levi said, there was 5 sacks, which is not that bad. And there was a lot of pressure on the quarterback. KJ Jefferson he's just so good at getting away from that and then being able to throw the ball to somebody else. So it really wasn't that bad of a defensive game, but still think you could definitely do better because on the 3rd and long, they like ran the ball a few times on 3rd and 9, and they got it. Like you can't. If you let that up, that's a game changer. If you don't let that up, I mean, 3rd and 9 at the 30-yard line, they got all the way down to like the 20. That can't happen because now you're like easy field goal or guaranteed touchdown. I mean, and Arkansas is really good around the red zone. I think pass defense could have been a little bit better in the secondary, but as Levi said, a lot of people opted out for this game, and they were missing a lot of people. So it wasn't terrible, but I think got to be. How many passing touchdowns did KJ Jefferson throw? I know
0.
He didn't throw any.
No.
They all ran.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that wasn't bad, but still. I thought he threw
Well,
two.
he only threw 98 passing yards too.
Only 98
Yeah.
passes. Yeah, so it was obviously big rushing game for Arkansas.
Yeah, props to
So
them. I mean, I would give props to Arkansas. They had a game plan. They knew what we struggled with all year. But I mean, as I like to say, Penn State is the best secondary in the Big Ten, let alone maybe the best secondary in all of college football. We are the most experienced. When we have Tariq Castro-Fields and Jaquan Brisker, no one's stopping us. But I mean, think about who we had today. We had somebody that hasn't played much, Jonathan Sutherland, Kalen King. He's going to be one of my favorite defensive guys coming into the 2022 season. And then we had other guys like Curtis Jacobs at linebacker who came in, stepped up. And then we have a guy that didn't opt out and showed his team spirit, Jesse Lucetta, but he is leaving, and we have tons of depth on this team. Linebacker University for 2022 is going to be amazing. And now I'm going to have Penn start with my brother, and he's going to say what Penn State did wrong in this game, and I'll tell y'all what ways they can improve on that.
yeah, I have at least 8. I've mentioned them all throughout this video, but if all these get better, this game is automatically very close game, or they easily win this game. So first thing, offensive line got to get better. Almost every single play I watched, Sean Clifford got out of the pocket to throw the ball, and that's just, I mean, your quarterback percentage goes way down. And another one was they couldn't really run the ball super well, which I, I mean, that's kind of iffy. It wasn't super great, but you got to be able to run the ball when you want to. That's efficiently. And number 2 is Sean Clifford. He threw way too many crucial interceptions. He only threw 2, I know, but he threw that one in the red zone where they're down in the red zone, easy chip in field goal, or you're down there in the red zone. I mean, you can score a touchdown. And another one, Jair Brown intercepted the ball, and like 2 plays later, they throw another interception right back to him. So I mean, they just gave him right back to him in the same field possession. So that was very crucial because basically that interception did nothing for him. And another one, I just want to mention this. He already mentioned it. Jair Brown led with interceptions. That was really good defense right there. Uh, Arkansas, they were just, I mean, they were ready to play. I mean, yeah, they were just a more physical team. Um, Another one, big one, Penn State, bad play calls. Like
What was Mike Yurchik thinking?
fake. So you're going for a 54-yard field goal easily for Stout. Well, it's not an easy field goal, but he has made field goals like this.
57-yarder.
Jordan Stout, you can't go from that and then spread everybody out and have 2 blockers in front of you and them think you're going to punt. You're not going to punt. It's obviously a block. It's obviously a fake. And then just to heave the ball, like the defensive guy couldn't even get to it. That's not a good play call at all. At least Jordan Stout should have at least like ran the ball. If
I
you
kind of wanted them to intercept it. It
like,
would have gave them worse field position.
yeah, but that's just
bad it was. I kind of wanted them to intercept it.
yeah. And Sean Clifford, if he's more disciplined and figures out where he needs to pass it at, obviously I'm not an expert or anything, but Sean Clifford, if he can just be a little bit more disciplined with those interceptions, that's a whole different game plan. Like if you think about it, that bad play call from Penn State, right here. Say you go for it, at least get your quarterback out there to throw it, okay? And say you get it, now you're in field goal range, and you can at least get a field goal before half, or just try the field goal. I mean, you have a better chance of that than throwing it long with your punter or kicker. And those interceptions, if you take that back, that's a touchdown.
Yeah, well, I have one thing to say on this real quick.
That's at least 20 points.
And then, like, the Sean Clifford being more disciplined and figure out where to throw the ball, it also leads back to number 1, and that's the offensive line. If the offensive line doesn't give him enough time to pass the ball, he's going to have to just throw the ball. I mean, like, sometimes in college, even in NFL, you just don't want to throw the ball away sometimes. You want to try to force the ball to your playmaker, which the offensive line has to give him more time to do so. So it all starts off with the offensive line. The offensive line, I mean, you can say quarterback main key, but the quarterbacks can't do it. You can have Bryce Young, but with Penn State's offensive line, Bryce Young's not going to be any good. I know Alabama's offensive line hasn't been very good this year, but it's a lot better than Penn State's. At least they have a projected second rounder. We don't even have a projected draft guy. Our guys aren't even going to go to the free agency pool. So, I mean, our guys got to get a lot better. And, like, yeah, it's funny, but, like, I'm serious. Like, we're terrible. Like, I'm watching YouTube videos on our offense, and then everyone, when, like, Jahan and Dotson catches a one-hand catch, like, oh, our offensive line's terrible. Like, that's all they're thinking about.
So offensive line. So the number one key was the offensive line. I said. Well, if you think about that, that goes down to Deshaun Clifford threw crucial interceptions, and he needs to be more disciplined. That's 3 points that all wraps together.
And the run efficiency.
And if you think about it, say he didn't throw that. Oh yeah, in the run efficiency. If when Jair Brown intercepted that ball in the end zone, and then Sean Clifford threw it right back, if that offensive line would do better, you can go down there and at least try to get a field goal.
Exactly.
And in that crucial interception in the end zone, like I said.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it was 10-24.
It was 10-24. Sean
and
Clifford broke the sack, and then immediately 10 more guys were coming out his face. So he just threw the ball. I mean, I can't blame him for doing that.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't see the problem with that because I mean at this point, winning chances are low, and you cannot afford a sack, which makes it fourth and about 14. You can't afford that sack right there. So I totally agree with this decision. Throw it up to Theo Johnson. He's your tight end, and the defender made a play. I mean,
yeah, but if you think, yeah, like that's all good, but and then it's 17-24 if you score that. If the offensive line is better, you can run the ball more efficiently. Say you can add on another touchdown. Now all of a sudden it's 24-24. Just take away those interceptions that Sean Clifford threw. All ties back to the offensive line. And, I mean, you got better play calls. Better play calls wins. And now if you think about it, now it's 24-24. You don't fake that punt.
Yeah.
You kick the field goal. Now it's 27-24. Game over.
And also, let me talk about this real quick. If you think like going into this, you have Penn State's a historied program in the college football. You have the best quarterback in 2022. You have the best quarterback to ever walk the halls at Penn State on your team in 2022, and your offensive line is giving that talent up. Yeah, everybody talks about how Sean Clifford's not that good. This is a historic program, and Sean Clifford's the best quarterback to ever walk the halls. He's 1,000 yards away from breaking the record. He's gonna break it by 2,000. If, let alone maybe 3,000 if he has a 4,000 passing career. I mean,
I don't know how he's got that much when the offensive line is not good.
Exactly. We've never had a good offensive line. We had
put him with
you put him
who's offensive line, and all of a sudden he's already got the record in 2 seasons.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Going back to Trace McSorley, Trace McSorley had a really good offensive line, and Sean Clifford's about to break Trace McSorley's records completely.
And Trace McSorley was also more of a runner.
Yeah, Sean Clifford's already break Trace McSorley's record of rush yards at quarterback. I mean, Sean Clifford they're about just as even. Trace McSorley has held the record for about 5-6 years now, and then I mean, Sean Clifford has the highest completion percentage out of Penn State history, most passing yards out of Penn State history, most passing touchdowns out of Penn State history. That's all three. Good offensive line. He's having a 4,000 yard passing season.
And all of a sudden, guess what? All this what we're saying ties back to the offensive line.
Exactly.
All of a sudden,
Give
you got a Heisman winner.
Exactly. And I totally expect the offensive line out of that recruiting class to be good. I expect Sean Clifford to go to the Heisman. I mean, you can say all you want to, but he's the only quarterback in college football in his 6th year. Mobile, he can throw the ball good, and he has weapons. Going back to this year, yeah, he didn't have the best year, but he doesn't have to throw for 4,000 yards. He has to throw for 3,500 and get 500 rushing yards. That's good enough.
And I also want to say, Sean Clifford had definitely the hardest schedule.
Yeah.
He had, let's think about it. So it was number 2 Michigan.
Yeah.
Then you had Wisconsin.
Auburn.
And then you had Auburn in the whiteout game.
And then Iowa.
And Auburn's an SEC team. So, I mean, that's hard. And then you have Michigan State.
Iowa, number 3.
And then you have Iowa. And then you have... I already said that.
Okay.
And then you have Michigan.
Where I said Michigan.
Michigan State.
Michigan, yeah.
And...
Well, then also you had some in kind of cool games in, like, let's go back. Let's think of their schedule.
I mean, that's 6 games right there. That's almost half your schedule.
Yeah.
Like, they won over half their games.
Iowa, number 3.
Illinois, that was just a tough loss. That was just...
Loss. Yeah. You're always going to have those. What's another game? Maryland's a pretty competitive team. Talia Tagovailoa almost is like...
They got 55 points in their last game.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, that's
a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, beating an SEC
team... Didn't you also versus Nebraska?
We versed Nebraska. No, we didn't verse Nebraska. Surprisingly, I don't know when we didn't do that.
Y'all normally do.
Yeah, we're big. We have versus every Big Ten team.
Yeah, so, I mean...
we had definitely a hard schedule.
If you think about it, offensive line, if he can block, you got a Heisman winner, but you also have the hardest schedule. So
Yeah, and here you have all the talent in the world around Sean Clifford. You have two of the best tight ends in college football.
Parker Washington.
Well, Jahan Dotson's leaving.
I'm talking about last
year.
year.
Yeah. But going into 22, Mitchell Tinsley. If you don't know that guy, go look him up right now. He came in the transfer portal last year with Penn State, but he'll be incredible. But we still have Parker Washington, Keandre Lamber-Smith, Cain Sanders, Malik Mega, Cam Sullivan-Brown, Liam Clifford. Man, this wide receiver room is stacked. You could lose 4 players and still have some of the best receivers in the nation. I mark my word. Ohio State lost Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Penn State and Alabama have the top 2 receiver room in the nation, in like the whole nation. That's what I'm saying right now, and you can agree with me now.
All those receivers right there. So Devontae Smith, the reason Alabama was so good last year, and all the receivers, if you look at their offensive line, almost every single one of them went to the draft. They were all really good, like Alex Leatherwood.
Yeah, and that's one reason Mac Jones succeeded.
Yes. And without offensive line, wide receivers don't matter. Wide receivers don't matter. Quarterbacks don't matter. Because basically all you're doing is with a terrible offense, you have a 4-on-4. So you got 4, or say you got 5 people on the offensive line, 4 people on the edge. You take away the offensive line, that's 4 people running at you full speed. And like that's so unpredictable. Like that's so hard just to get it to somebody with 4 people in front of you. And then you're trying to get away from them. So this is basically the mindset. You're trying to get away from them. You're trying to complete the ball to somebody without going too far out of bounds and not passing the line. You have so much to consider. And you have to read as you're doing all that. So it's really hard.
Yeah,
the offensive line does not ball.
Yeah, the offensive line does have to do better, but it also has to come. We haven't been talking about this much, and it's the defense. Offensive line's good, and our offensive line we know needs to get better. But I'm just gonna take a moment to acknowledge how good our defensive line is. No Arnold Ebiketie and no Derek Tangelo, both opt outs, going second round, and and our safeties played amazing, our corners played amazing, good secondary, and I feel like the offensive line and the offense has to build on that. The offense is fine, and the offensive line is what ruins us. And we go back to the run efficiency. Our average was 81.5. I think we averaged 81 rush yards per game. We had 125 yards total today. That's why I think our running game got a lot better. And as we're nearing the end of this live, we're going to end this one on 25 minutes, which we're going to do most of the time when we talk about this stuff right here. The offensive line get better. And this team is crazy good in 2022. I can't think of a better team. Is there a better team other than Alabama and Georgia? Penn State, imagine this, good offensive line, one of the best quarterbacks in the whole nation, best receiving group, and then one of the best offensive line.
The best.
Yeah, the offense.
It all comes down to the offensive line. If they don't step up, you don't have a top 25.
And then the defense. The defense is just like Georgia's defense, but it's too different. Georgia's defense is good at run. Our defense is good at pass. It's like our secondary is better than Cincinnati's. I'm saying that's my bet. Penn State's secondary better than Cincinnati's. So it's just like I feel like Penn State would play Alabama closer than Georgia. It's just the offense wouldn't be as good. I feel like our offense is better than Georgia's if we have offensive line. We get offensive line, we play Alabama better than Georgia plays Alabama because Georgia's good at stopping the run. But do you know anybody on Georgia's corners? Do you know any Georgia corners? I don't think so. I don't think you do. That's Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis. They're 2 guys that stop the run. Penn State, I'm pretty sure y'all know who Jaquan Brisker is. Jair Brown. I'm just saying the 2021 team. Y'all probably know all these guys. Y'all know Jahan Dotson. You don't know anybody on Georgia's offense other than Stetson Bennett, the kid that like. The only thing you know about Stetson Bennett is that that's the guy that needed to be benched from.
He's very inconsistent.
Yeah, the very inconsistent guy. I'm pretty passionate about saying Penn State football is going to be good in 2022, and I'm going to
But
stick with that.
we can't hate on Stetson Bennett. He did just win
Yeah, I
college
guess they was in
football
a minute.
playoffs. So
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying.
consistent. So some games, like Alabama game, he sucks.
Yeah, I'm
Some
saying
games
like,
he's good.
what do you know Stetson Bennett as from later games? The guy. I mean, yeah, recently you know him as the guy that just had one of those best career games, but all through the year, you know him as the guy that should be back up to JT Daniels. That's what I knew him as. That's what everybody on College Game Day knew him as. Kirk Herbstreit knew him as. David Pollock knew him as. Yeah, as right into the near of this, we'll see y'all guys in the next one. Every Saturday or Sunday at 8 o'clock. Either it'll just be me or either me and my brother, and we'll see y'all guys in the next live stream.